China's bold move, the 300% port fee. That shook the US Navy. Hook. When a superpower decides to charge another superpower just for docking ships, you know global trade has entered a new era. That's exactly what's happening right now. In a move that has sent shockwaves across international shipping and defense circles, China has announced a special port fee on American vessels, including those connected to US ownership, operation, or construction. This is more than a financial policy. It's a strategic strike in the global trade war. The announcement that caught Washington off guard. According to China's Ministry of Transport, starting October 14, 2025, any vessel that is US-owned, US-operated, US-built, or flying the American flag will now have to pay a special port service fee when entering Chinese ports. The initial rate is set at 400 yuan per net ton, but that's just the beginning. By 2028, it will rise to 1,120 yuan per ton, nearly a 300% increase over the next few years. If that wasn't enough, China has clarified that even if a ship is owned by a company with at least 25% American investment, it will still fall under this new rule. Clearly, Beijing is sending a message, not just to US companies, but to Washington itself. A response to US protectionism. This isn't happening in isolation. Earlier this year, the United States imposed its own port fees on ships built in China, arguing it was necessary to counter unfair trade practices. Now China has responded in kind, a classic tit-for-tat maneuver that reflects the deepening economic tension between the two largest economies in the world. Beijing has described this move as a reciprocal measure, insisting that the US started this escalation by weaponizing trade rules in the maritime sector. To put it simply, China just turned the tables. Not just about money, it's about power. On paper, the port fee looks like an economic issue. In reality, it's about geopolitical leverage. Ports are lifelines of global trade. Whoever controls the ports controls the flow of goods, energy, and influence. China's message is clear. If you restrict our ships, we'll make your ships pay to enter our waters. Even though the US merchant marine, civilian shipping fleet, has a relatively small global footprint, the symbolism of this decision is huge. It's a show of economic sovereignty and a challenge to America's dominance over global trade routes. Who will be affected the most? This move targets more than just the US Navy or commercial fleet. It will also impact allied companies, firms with partial American ownership or partnerships in sectors like energy, logistics, and manufacturing. Analysts predict that hundreds of vessels could fall under this policy, especially in the energy trade between the Middle East and East Asia, where American tankers and logistics firms are heavily involved. Every voyage to a Chinese port will now come with a new cost, and potentially a political risk. A subtle but smart Chinese strategy. China has always played the long game in trade politics. Instead of direct confrontation, Beijing often uses policy pressure and economic tools to send a message. This port fee policy is a perfect example of economic retaliation disguised as regulation. Unlike a military response, this doesn't invite global condemnation. It's legal, procedural, and technically fair. But its impact on American shipping and diplomatic relations could be far-reaching. The US reaction, cautious but concerned. In Washington, officials have called this move unjustified and a clear act of economic retaliation. However, experts note that the US might struggle to counter it effectively without escalating the trade war further. American shipping associations have already warned that this will increase operational costs, reduce competitiveness, and disrupt supply chains, especially for companies dependent on Chinese ports. Global implications. The new trade battlefield. What we're witnessing isn't just another tariff dispute. It's the evolution of the trade war into new territories. Ports, logistics, maritime law. China's step signals a future where strategic infrastructure becomes a weapon of economic influence. As both countries expand their naval and commercial presence across the Pacific, every new policy like this raises the risk of friction, not just in trade, but also at sea. Conclusion: the waters are no longer calm. China's decision to impose special port fees on American vessels may look like a small bureaucratic change, but it's anything but small. It's a symbolic and strategic maneuver, one that combines economics, politics, and power in a single policy. The message is crystal clear. In the new age of global trade, you can't control the seas without paying the price. Settings: use appropriate media. Use a female clear American voice for the narrator. Use YouTube audio library only.